Right, Dave, got you on camera. Normally it's everybody fires, normally it's the car, isn't it? It's not
It is, the car's the star.
Right, tell us a bit about the car. Well, actually, let's go back a little bit further than that. What got you into this?
Well,
why are you making ridiculously expensive TR78?
I think
Did you
good
bang
value
your
for
head
money.
one day, or?
Yeah, I've had a few bangs on the head over the years, but no, when I started my rallying career was with the TR7V8.
Yeah.
So my first rallies I'd done was with the TR7V8. Then I managed to get hold of a factory car, the last factory car, JDO 931W, which we rallied to great success in the early 80s, 83, 84. Then we moved on to the SD1 Rover and the 6R4. But so that's why I've had this attraction with the TRs really for many years, is because it's the first rally car. Eric and I, when we first started courting, I was driving a TR8 convertible on a road car.
Right.
And that's so.
And she married you?
And she did.
That's a shock.
It is. She's probably still in shock now. She's probably under medication for it. But so that's the and I just love the shape as well. I think the car was ahead of its time in design. Harris Mann's design. It's a lovely shape. They call it the British Stratus, and I think it very much is. It still looks relevant today to a certain extent. Look at this car side profile and front, and you appreciate. It is a good design car, and I like it. And Mark's been driving for us this year, and even Mark says, what a lovely driving position, really comfortable as a competition car. Right. And the co-driver and navigators, when they're in there, feel surrounded that sort of.
Have a look inside?
Yeah, certainly. Like I say, this is exactly as it finished the rally, so it's not been cleaned or
no, it's all right. We like authentic muck.
Yeah. So all the dust and muck and everything from the weekend's rallying up in Bonnie, Scotland is still there.
It still looks clean, which is unusual for a rally car.
Well, this is
you can dirty it soon enough, can't you?
But Monday now it'd be.
Can we sit under the bonnet?
Yeah, of course, and the boot lid everywhere. These are exact copies of the works cars because they are FIA papered cars, so that you can do international competition with them, rallies all around the world.
And essentially, it's your inlet and the steel boxes things that gets it underneath this bonnet.
Yeah. That was the biggest packaging problem on the induction side, was of course because of the bonnet height.
Yeah.
We went to IDF Webbers or anything else like that. We haven't got the height under the bonnet, and you can still see even now on all the genuine works cars where this carburetor top still runs.
You still can't.
You see most TR8s may have the bonnet slightly open at the back or raised at the back because they can't get the profile.
Yeah,
down.
that one on the SNS program.
The
SOS one.
But the works
look
cars,
ridiculously up.
They're lowered down the engine position and moved back to tunnel. You can see the engine right up the bell housing against the bulkhead down in there, so they're as far back on the homologation as you're allowed to go.
Right.
And it moves the engine behind the centre line axle line, the front, which makes a huge difference on the handling and the way the car performs.
So if you build and sell these, don't you? So if somebody wants one, what are you going to charge them?
Is it 195,000?
195. Oh, that sounds cheap.
It does, doesn't it? I made that even sound cheap. No, we cannot compete with the price of a historic Escort, which is usually at the moment about 155, 160. If you buy a Phil Mills full FIA paper car, we can't get that price because everything we've had to remake and redo.
Yeah.
It's not like an Escort where you can just ring up someone and get most of the parts the next day. The TR, like most of the BL products, is all have to be remade, remanufactured and redone, and of course with that comes the cost implication of it. Like the engine blocks, I'll show you brand new engine blocks. So by the time I
look at those,
cast, cast by Cosworth, and then machines like Sean's got.
Covered in cellophane.
Yeah, one we made earlier. Yeah.
What is the difference in this over the standard
one?
one?
I'll show you now. Right. So these are. Oh, Eric, my trusty assistant there. So these are Coscast block, meaning that they're cast by Cosworth. And if you see around the other side, there's a little tag with Coscast on. Come around.
Oh, let's see. Where's the
It
tag?
may be behind the engine, mate. Actually. Let's see it now.
Right, okay, there is a tag, but we don't know where it is.
Ah, here it is. Sorry.
Where is it?
It is.
That's all right.
Buried in between the mountain. Look, see it there? Coscast.
I don't know where we can, but I'll take your word for it. There's something down there.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Yeah.
So these were the competition blocks that were designed by ARG for the program and all the rest of it to perform. So they're material specs a lot higher than the production blocks in this material, aluminium material itself. Then the thickness of the webs, the actual thickness, and also most critically, as we noticed with some V8s, when they machined them, some of the blocks were off line and off centers, and they broke away, so making very thin wall sections into the waterway.
Yeah.
Well, these are equal and stuff. So these were all machined by Judds. John Judds machined them all for us, and we done a batch of 52. And
how many have you gone through?
Well, I do get asked for them, but when I tell them the price, it shocks most people because it's
and the price is, if we can ask.
Well, it's just under £10,000 a block.
Oh,
yeah,
I'll have two.
Yeah, that's it. So, but this is what we're up against when you're trying to sort of produce, you know, the power.
No, I get it. If you do individuals in small numbers, it costs. Unfortunately, not everybody gets that point.
And the, you know, our engine's revved to 8,200 or go, but even a little bit more. You know, well, most engine builders will probably draw the line at 7.5, maybe 7.8 at the most.
Yours do what?
8.2.
8.2?
Yeah, yeah. We got steel cranks, which I'm going to get one out later and have that on.
What happens if you go past 8.2?
Sometimes you might get a bit of a vibration. Or worse, an engine failure, but usually they're very good, you know, because they're fully balanced. The cranks are all steel, the rods are all steel, they're all here. And so I'm just about getting these bits all out to put on show. But,
sorry, I've interrupted you. Yeah.
Building now. Let me see. The conrods are a nice section. Yeah. So these are brand new. We need to get them out. Yeah. But you know, it's the components again that you need to do the job. Pistons are lightweight pistons, and the way the pistons are done.
And this is your sort of portable board of spares then?
This is one of the service vans, or the main service vans. So we keep it fully equipped, as you can see, with all the spares that you might think. You know, and then in the other bits is complete axles, gearboxes, but we've got all suspension, wishbones, brakes.
Oh yeah, God, I didn't even see those on the roof.
Yeah, all around. It's fully kitted out. It's all got compressors built in, generator, fridge, of course, very important, and microwave.
Absolutely. I don't know. You can't do that without that.
No, you know, but piston-wise, these are my lightweight piston.
Well, you know, they're almost too good to use.
They are, aren't they? You know, it's lovely bits of kit. But you know, this stuff does cost, I'm afraid. It's not a.
No, I get it.
And the power we're getting out of the cars, you know, is quite decent. You know, it's very good for the.
I had the discs remade on NWK from the original ones that were left on the car. Yeah. And they're like 300 quid a piece. Which those people are 300 quid.
I know, that's what you're up against, you know. It's like saying when you get some TR builders come along and cars, you know, it
and this shell here?
This is a brand new shell, so this shell's done to the full FIA papers and an exact copy of the works car. So you can see.
So you took a rusty old TR7, you gave it a new life.
Yeah. Oh well, I don't think this one was that rusty. But yeah, so main important thing on the works cars, of course, is about 600 hours of application. The whole back end is all totally transformed to a Hauser 4AJ instrument, but all the roll cage is sunk into the screen pillars.
Right.
Because that was the main thing of that was, of course, the vision. When you're sat in the car, if outside too much, of course, it restricted the side vision to the car.
Yeah.
And stuff. For Pondy liked it. Well, similar thing we carried through onto the 6R4 as well. On the 6R4, we ran the main pillars down through the screen pillars itself and that. So the bag tank, which is there, it's a 102 litre bag tank, L-shaped. As you can see, why we call it an L-shape, because it is L-shaped. But that sits up inside in here.
All right, so you push it further
and the back of the back, so all the weight then is over the axle.
Yeah.
In the earlier cars, they had the round boot, and of course they would be mounted, you know, in the boot floor, way behind the axle line. So all these things on the later iteration of the works cars did help the chassis dynamics greatly, made it a big improvement. And a guy that you've had contact with was one of the main instigators there, Richard Hurdwell.
Yeah.
You know, he was very much a leader in that design, coming from Mara as a
Well,
chassis
well, at the
engineer.
moment with Mr. Erdwell, I'm still trying to understand what he did to the suspension on the plane. And he says, well, you just do this
But
and
what's
you do that,
interesting, you
Richard.
got rid of the, you know, on the back, on the rear arms,
Yeah.
the pickup points.
Oh, yeah,
No,
no, that's
no,
different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's all the strengthening in the back, like I say, and fabricated, and moving the roll centres up, and on the subframe was the same, you know, and it's
But if you look at mine over there, it's like 2 inches lower
yeah.
than any of the others.
Yeah, and we've moved that front pickup up because you were allowed within the regulations at the time to be an inch lower from the original mounting point on the FA rules for Group 4. You could move this main suspension.
But how much
25 mil or an inch. You know.
how much lower are these over a standard car?
Well, we're
They're not. Because I
we
can't see how you could fly over those bumps
no.
without losing half the car if they were lower.
Yeah. Well, this car's set up for tarmac, of course, as it finished Argyle last
Yeah.
week. And you can see how low. We always measure ride height from this body seam here
Right.
to the ground.
Okay.
And all the original setup papers, which I've got there, I can show you in a minute, all the
Yeah.
original works papers going back from 1978 to 82. But we then pack on the lower arm. You look here, it's the lower suspension, and of course you can see where it's all been cut down to that. But then we would pack it with packers to give the ride height. So we'd have different length springs as well on the rear, different poundage depending what we're using it for. But then we can shim it, in want of a better word, but it's like an aluminium packer to get the desired ride height we want to achieve.
Yeah, well, I've asked Mr. Erdwell about my springs, and his attitude is, oh, well, take them off, take them to spring manufacturer and see what they say.
Well, that's it. We got
well, that's useful, isn't it?
Yeah, we have got spring testers in house. That's the trouble. See, that's the thing. We test them because even getting them from the manufacturers, and they're controlled spring, they're expensive, you know. To get them, but they're always within 2% of the designated rate. Like if we say we want a £400 spring, you know, put them on a spring tester. I know it depends on the calibration of our spring tester, but that's calibrated regularly. They're within 2%. They're pretty good. And then, like I say, we can pack. If you look underneath the work car, there, that car, you'll see the aluminium packers that we get to control this ride height, the static ride height, and that give us the ride height we want for that event.
And what ride height do we need to avoid sparks?
Well, it depends on how big the jump, because even some of the, you know, like you saw last weekend in Mark, you've seen some of the videos, the sparks are still going to come, even the escorts and everything was hitting, you know, because they're hitting the jumps quite high. But you know, this we run about 13.5 inches from that body seam to ground, and that depends also on the wheel profile and the tyre profile mine as well, because that will control the ride height as well, that diameter of wheel. You know, if it's an inch bigger in diameter, of course, that's half an inch in radius, so that lifts the ride height half an inch. So you've got all that to take into account as well, the different dynamics of the car. Front's a lot more easier because, of course, we've got McPherson struts on the front, but they're all adjustable, as you can see there. So there's a spring built up, but we've got this range of ride height that we can adjust and lower these platforms here to give the designed ride height. But again, you're compromising, you're looking for keeping the car as low as you can, because dynamics are so much better, but making sure it clears the jumps and rides the bumps well. You don't want it too low, it's on the bump stops all the time. So it's all bump stops come into it quite a bit. The damper rate comes into it quite a bit. That's why we've got all these different dampers and damper rates. Strokes.
Yeah.
Take your ears now.
You know, there's a lot to it. You know, it's not.
No. Well, it's nice of you to brief us. No doubt you'll see the video later at some point,
right,
and you can hide.
Yeah, thank you.
If you like, you're welcome.
Please, yeah.
I'll warn you up front.
Yeah, please, let me have
Right.
it.
Well,
But no, you can see dampers. This tarmac spec and forest spec. Of course, tarmac are shorter in their free length, of course, because you're running a lot lower ride height usually than forest. Springs again, shorter.
I think what impresses me the most is how clean everything is.
Thank you. It's a big, like I said, we've just done an 11-hour journey back from Argyle last Sunday.
Yeah.
We got Monday, and I was in bed most of Monday because of driving 11 hours. I'm too old to do all these things really. And then this week I thought, well, let's leave the car as it finished the rally with all its mud and.
Oh no, I'd sooner see it like that.
Yeah, that's right.
It's much better.
Before, but tomorrow it'll be up on stands, stripped out totally, stripped down, cleaned, and then we'll put that together and ready for the next event. You know, so there's a lot to do in between.
Lovely. Thank you very much, sir.
No, thank you. Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
Right, okay, tell us about this, Malcolm.
Okay, so this is PTM 266W. I
Okay.
bought this car 20 years ago from Robsport. It's still got the plates. I then sold it 2 years later because the engine was knackered and it was rusty. It came back on the market last year in a better state than when I sold it, so I bought it back, and I'm intending.
So what
to
you're
do a
really
few
saying
things
is
and bring it back to life.
So what you're really saying is it was a pile of junk.
And someone
You couldn't be
restored it
bothered
for
to
me.
fix it. Somebody else fixed it for you, and you brought it back.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
don't think that's a lazy way of doing
It's always
things?
being back.
Huh? And an early nylon trim interior,
Yeah.
no less.
It did have a beautiful red velour interior, which you probably don't remember, but Steve Wilcox and others were very offended by it. They remember it.
There's a lot of people offended by any colour these days, as far as I can see. Right.
Got down here, 3-hour drive. It's the first long trip I've been on, so yeah, all good news.
Thank you.
It belonged to my father. He had a fixed head he bought for my mother to begin with, and then decided he wanted one of these, so he used to run the fixed head in the winter, and then he'd get this out for the summer. I bought it from somebody over Kidderminster way, I think. Apparently the car originates in Germany, which was a bit of a surprise when I sent off for the documents. So I haven't got a lot of history on it at all, really. My
Was
mother
it a
managed-
tax-free one for the forces, do you think?
I don't know, could have been. But certainly my mother threw all the stuff away, so we don't know really anything about it at all.
Well, it's all right. It's here. It's got a V8 under the bonnet, so you qualify.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
I don't know what you win, but anyway,
Probably
You do.
nothing.
you're probably right.
Trying to get the lot.
Okay, Mike, tell us about this motor.
This is my third TR7 or 7 V8. I started off.
What happened to the other two?
Well,
Break them?
no. Well, although I don't actually know what's happened to either of them, to be fair.
Mhm.
The first one was kept as a 2-litre, very early car, 1976 ACG 3247 russet brown in 4-speed. The second one was the first car that I did as a V8 conversion. That a friend wanted to buy it, so that was sold. I bought this as a 3.5 converted car. I then took it apart and did the conversion properly, but kept it at 3.5. Subsequently sold the 3.5, and it's now 4.6 with fast road specification. So quite a nice car to drive. A little bit thirsty on the fuel, as perhaps you'd expect.
What do you think it returns?
Oh, 15 if you're lucky, probably
15?
something
As
like
much
that.
as that?
Yeah, well, it's got a 284 crown wheel and pinion
Yeah.
in the axle, so it's very unstressed. 70 miles an hour is about 2,000 RPM, and it just lollops along. It's got stage 2 heads on it, 390 Holly, Mallory brakerless ignition, Cloy's duplex timing chain, real steel Hurricane cam, was set up on the rolling road donkeys years ago. And yes, it goes very nicely. I don't drive it overly quick as a road car. It's just a nice, comfortable, relaxed cruiser. But there's no such thing as changing gear to overtake. Just put your foot down a little bit and off it goes.
Okay, can I open the door?
Yeah, do help yourself. The interior was all retrimmed by myself. Hood was fitted by myself.
Actually, the carpets look close to an original colour, those.
I've done all the mechanical work myself. The only thing I didn't do was paint work, which was done when I first got it about 28 years ago. So
Held up all right, 28 years.
This car has basically been as well maintained as I can make it over that time. It has a very cosseted life. The 5.5 hour journey up here was a bit of a trial for both me and the car, in all honesty. We were both, I think, quite pleased to get out of the traffic by the time we got up here. But yes, this has done the pride of ownership rather than concourse. It was never built to be a concourse car. It was built to be a car that can be use rather than one that you have to take apart every year to clean every nut and bolt thread and the rest of it.
So not like Mr. Salters.
Well, Mr. Salter uses his car as well. I've known Andy since we were both probably in our very early 20s back in the days of the North Kent TR Drivers Club. So I've got an awful lot of time for Andy. He's a great guy, a great ambassador for the cars. So we always have a good laugh and a joke in a friendly competition as to who wins the cup.
Right. Good. Well, thank you very much for that, sir.
No,
Appreciate it.
pleasure.
Oh, I don't. No.
Yeah, absolutely. Come
No,
on. Tell me
no.
about this car.
No, I can't.
Yeah, you can. Of course you can.
Okay.
He's known it.
Enough.
I've known it from brand new.
Right,
Belonged to a guy I used to work with,
right,
an old guy. When I retired 5 years ago,
right,
I bought it off him.
right.
It's 2 owners, never been painted, never been welded. Showing its age a little bit in a few areas.
What brakes it got? Or have you
It's
just
got
painted the
Capri-
standard one?
No,
blue?
it's got Capri 2.8 venteds. Could
That's
be being
right.
a little bit bigger if you're a spirited driver. But they're good enough for road use.
Right.
I converted it myself.
Okay. Using a Rimmers kit or most
No,
original?
it's an S&S subframe, and then a lot of other parts I did myself: mounts, radiator mounts, suspension, rear axle.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not a lot to say really. It's a good, solid, straight car that really just wants painting. But I don't have a garage anymore. I've moved into a bungalow, no garage.
Didn't you used to work with that other chap? I can't remember his name now.
My business were Yorkshire Triumphs.
Yeah, but wasn't he part of it as well? Big guy, stocky.
There were Richard measured, but we don't talk about the unmentionable.
All right, okay. Right, we'll shut up about that idea then. Right.
So yeah,
Okay.
there we are. If anybody wants a nice, decent, straight car, it's good to go.
Pete's got one for sale.
Once for nothing. Yeah,
Right,
good spec.
it'll be on the video. Well,
This is the Grinnell,
this is the Grinnell.
a 1980 Grinnell that was converted in 1990 for the cost of £12,000.
Okay, looks like it's going to need a new front panel.
So it needs a little bit of work because it's been parked in a garage for the last 19 years, surfacing last October,
Right,
and it had a bit of engine work done on it just to get it going.
okay.
And now we're just using it, and then one day it will be painted back to be a pristine colour.
And any particular colour or this colour again?
The same colour,
Same colour, no headrest?
but it was at Triton Green originally when it was new.
Did they take the headrest out or?
This is just as it was for the conversion, yeah.
Right, okay,
Apart from the carpets, I've had to put the carpets in, and a roof.
okay. Does it still have the Grinnell badges on the back? Yeah, it does, sort of. And those one.
Even with a dealer plate.
And the dealer plate as well, Grinnell cars.
I've actually had some new remade actually. There's a place on
To
the
match
internet.
it.
Yeah, well, because that's all faded, so when it's painted,
Mm.
it's going to have new plates.
Lovely, thank you very much for that. Yeah, absolutely, go for it, Derek.
All right. Oh yeah, it's a TR7 with a V8 conversion.
Right, let's have a look at the engine.
Yeah. Well, yes. And
It's a standard SD1 Vitesse engine, just with the standard SU carbs. But, that's about it really. It's probably what, 150, 160 brake horsepower, something like that. But,
How long have you had it?
I've had it since
anyway.
1980, I think, 82.
82?
No, it wasn't that. Can't have had it that long. 91 I had bought it.
I was going to say, and you had it from you pretty much, 82.
Unusually, it was a demonstrator for James Edwards.
Okay,
And I can't figure that out because it was 1980 manufactured and sold in 82.
right. Why the exotic sort of
Why would they?
multiple badging on the rear? Personal thing or?
Only because I don't want it to look like a TR8.
Well, why don't you just take the TR8 off then?
Because I want people to know it's got a 3.5 litre in it.
All right, well,
So-
put 3.5 V8.
Well, it's on the side, but it's not as dramatic as your car, is it?
You don't want them to miss
Show
it.
out, does it? But yeah,
Well, if you put them on in white, they'd stand out.
can you get white ones?
Yeah, you can now.
All right.
Not original, but it doesn't matter.
I wanted silver really.
Well, you can get silver.
Yeah, silver would probably be better.
Actually, that's the number plate of the car. I've just looked at it.
Well, I can't understand why it was a demonstrator in 1982 because they stopped making them, hadn't they? So why would a garage make it as a demonstrator? But it's a bit weird, isn't it?
Depends what they were demonstrating.
But when I bought it in Birkenhead,
Right.
and somebody put 2 front panels on it.
Right.
So why would you put another panel on top of the front panel? So I had to take all the front of the car off and repair the inner wings, and then just rebuild it. So yeah, but I've had it a long time. So.
Lovely, thank you.
All right, cheers.
Nothing, just tell me about this car.
This car, I bought it in 1986 as a 2-litre standard drophead coupe.
Okay.
2 weeks before my 25th birthday, and it sat in a neighbour's garage for two weeks until I turned 25 because the insurance came down.
Yeah.
But it was still a whopping £330 a year. I converted it to V8 back in. Converted it to V8 myself using an S&S preparations kit in I think it was 1990.
Okay.
It's got an engine, one of the last Range Rover carburetted engines before they went to fuel injection.
We'll have a look at it.
It's not very pretty at all.
Trust me, there are plenty of other not pretty.
It's very. I got the engine for an absolute bargain price from a Land Rover workshop that had exchanged a guy's engine. It came ready equipped with a Holly, JWR dual port inlet manifold. A lot of people seem to report having terrible trouble setting up Hollys and keeping them running, but if you set it up as per the manual and the instructions, it appears to be no problem at all. And because that's the carburetor that came with the engine, I persevered with it because I don't fancy spending another £600 or something or other.
So what you're telling me is you've now taught yourself how to deal with it.
I taught myself how to deal with it back in the early 90s.
Well done.
Drove it down to Le Mans soon after converting it to V8, and it was an absolute blast. The brakes and suspension are all uprated to cope with the power, so it's got the 4.3 2-point injection brakes, which I also got from S&S preparations. It's got 3.08 rear axle. I think if there was a 2.4 that anyone's willing to donate for free, I think I'd have that as well, because on the motorway you feel as if you should be looking for 6th gear, which it doesn't have. And when I take it out on a weekend morning, anybody who seems to be under the age of 25, just from the age of 5 to 25, asks me questions about it. What is it? Oh, cool car, mister. I really like your car. And that's from the little kids. So they've got lots of common sense. They know they know what they're talking about.
Certainly do. Good. Thank you very much for that. It's a very shiny steering wheel you've got there.
Yeah, good enough for steering wheel.
Well, you never know, do you?
Yeah, so it's a 3.9 Rover V8.
Okay.
Running on Elderbrook 500 CFM carburetor.
Well, that's an interesting air conversion going out the door.
Yeah, trying to get a bit more cold air in there.
Do you think it works?
I don't really know. Like you say, like doing back-to-back testing is hard to say, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to find one of those air filters where you can just put the cold feed all the way in, but you know.
Would you not run it into the side one there? Or did you try?
I just thought to get more cold air in that way, you know.
Don't know. Just coming over the wings, it's definitely cold, isn't it? So
yeah.
And so you've got some sort of adjustable brake bias?
Yes, again, because the old one is not very easily adjustable, and it was properly seized. Yeah, so that's a Willwood adjustable brake bias, and then it's got disc conversion on the rear as well.
Okay. S&S's or somebody else's?
That's my own.
Your own?
Yeah, I think it's.
Oh dear, is it safe?
Yes. What is it? I can't remember what they are now.
You don't want,
I want
I mean, I think they're I think
you don't
they're
want too much braking at the back.
Yeah.
That's all he's saying.
I think they're the Rover 800.
You might find your boots in another counter.
I think they're the Rover 800 discs and calipers. I think.
Really?
I can't remember. I've done a couple of conversions now, and I've lost track, to be honest.
Okay. Do they fit 13-inch or only?
Yeah.
Are these 13 or 15?
Yeah, these are 14.
14.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it would.
Probably not.
No, so they might be the 260 mil rather than the the 240 mil. Yeah. Nice.
How long have you had it for?
About 5 or 6 years I've had this thing.
Yeah. Well, it looks in fairly nice nick.
Yeah, I haven't got round to redoing the interior yet. So it's looking a bit shabby.
Well, it's up to you. I mean, I love interiors to look the dog's bollocks, because in my head that's the only bit of the car you ever see when you're driving it. But personal preference. But I mean, if it's a nice, comfortable, well-worn seat, why not? Yeah. It's the steering wheel that catches my eye, because it's so sort of metal and zoomy.
Yeah, I mean, that came with a car. I mean, it looks like an earlier horn insert, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does actually. It's, anyway, okay, thank you for that. I saw your car appear.
Yeah. Don't look at the inside of it.
Don't look. Is this yours?
Yeah.
Oh, good. You tell me all about it then.
Can do.
And why isn't it parked up there?
Hey, because I couldn't find it.
Oh,
I
right.
came in and they directed me down this end. And
Well, you can still drive up that end now.
I could. Maybe I'll drive it up there.
Right. Well, well
Spend
done.
the last hour or two up at your end.
Right.
That'd be all right. Yeah.
Why has it got SU carbs?
Well, it's a 1980 Canadian spec TR7.
Right.
I've had it for 36 years. Drove it around North America for a year and took it back to Melbourne and did the V8 conversion there.
Yeah.
The SU carbs are actually from an early 70s Australian spec Range Rover, which had the same low profile in that manifold, same pattern low profile in that manifold as the TR8. The same air boxes, everything else, but it had SUs instead of Strombergs. Later on, the Range Rovers went to Strombergs. So
it's off an Aussie one then.
Sorry, it's an Aussie engine.
Right.
So it's a 1980 car. I bought a scrap 1980 SD1 in Melbourne just to get the engine. So that's the engine from the Rover, which is same year, same spec as a TR8. The New World engines were the same spec with the air cleaners and everything else. They had the thermostatic choked Stromberg carburetors on it, which I've still got sitting at home. And but I changed for the SUs because they were simpler, and the chokes were giving me trouble. So I just put the SUs on it from the Range Rover engine.
They don't stay in,
all the other bits and pieces, the ancillaries are on it, are the same as the TR8, the exhaust manifolds, the various bits and pieces. So it's got a original TR8 subframe, TR8 gearbox cross member, so the engine and driveline is all on exactly the right size.
when they
No
get
power
scrapped,
steering?
when this
No
guy
power
gets scrapped,
steering, no, it's still got the TR7 back in it.
So
As you can see, it's got the
original plastic.
fan drive off the crank, which I got from one Richard Truitt about 20 years ago off eBay.
I think they probably are.
Batteries in the boot with the TR8 battery cradle I got from some bloke in Washington.
Yeah, I think the original, but I don't think it's been on the car for long.
So it's got almost all the right stuff on it. What I want to get now is the thermostat housing. Or if I could ever get hold of a TR8 thermostat housing, would be something I'm looking for. And the original clutch hydraulics.
Yeah, I
From
think
the
so.
TR8.
I think it's been
Ted,
started,
to a side automotive.
kept it in.
Yes.
We'll have one.
Yeah. So I've actually, when I bought this in 1988,
Is it? Yeah.
I drove down to see Ted Schumacher,
Yeah.
and I got the gearbox cross member from him, and I got that old TR8 steering wheel from him, and a couple of other bits and pieces. So, but at that stage, I wasn't aware that the thermostat housing was different. So, otherwise,
You could have got one at the
I would
same
have got,
time.
yeah. Had I known what I was sort of learning about them then, it was 36 years ago.
Yeah.
Had I known a bit more, there would have been a few other bits and pieces that I would have got. But anyway, it doesn't matter. The exhaust manifolds were easy to do, being in Australia, because the right-hand manifold on the Aussie Rover is the same as the TR8 manifold. The left-hand one is different, but because they're interchangeable, I just went and bought a new right-hand manifold and put it on the left-hand side. So
Good.
all the standard exhausts and everything pops up.
Thank you very much for
From the
that.
factory.
One. But I do have a real one in the garage, but it never runs.
Right. And what's wrong with the real one?
Nothing. I've just got to spend a lot more time on it. It was a circuit car that was competing in one of the classic series,
Right.
but it's actually an ex-Abingdon car that came out with a Sprint engine in it, and then but now through its iterations, it's got a John Ells engine in it. But this one is built by Mark May, and I bought from Mark Champion, one of the TR drivers.
Okay.
And that's a Discovery 2 engine.
Okay.
So yeah, it's been tuned. It's a very comfortable car, more of a GT, but and it's also the first TR.
Can I open your door?
Yeah, carry on.
Let's get the first TR2.
To have competed in the Watergate Sprint in Cornwall.
Right. Should I be impressed with the Watergate Sprint in Cornwall, or?
It's since they changed the laws, it was one of the first on-road sprints in the UK for probably about I don't know, maybe 60, 70 years.
Okay.
So yeah.
Lovely.
Because I think the gentleman that started the rebuild died of COVID. And then somebody else bought it to
So
finish.
is it a V6 3.5?
Yeah, no 3 litre.
All right.
What would have been in the 3 litre?
You need to take the 5 off then. Yeah.
Pardon?
Is it?
It's what would have been in the 3 litre Caprice.
Right. Okay.
That's where it would have been originally.
Well, there's a lot more space in there. Loads more space, actually.
Yeah, so it's just a matter of me getting it on the road. Now I've got to do the fettling to get it to run. It's quick.
Right.
It's a quick car, but once you get up to 80, that's when the V8 takes over in power. And but up to about 80, this thing is quicker than my V8.
Depends how well your V8's set up.
Pardon?
Depends how well your V8's set up, doesn't it?
Well, my V8 has got 220 brake horsepower.
Mine's got 270,
Yeah.
but we don't argue about that. Well, you got strange dials. Are they off an Escort as well?
No, they're off an SD1 apparently.
Are they?
Because it has a 4-speed box, which is taking some getting used to.
All right. Yeah, you're going to run out of steam a bit, really, aren't you?
I got a few issues with the tyres touching the rear wing, the back of the rear wing, because they're such bloody great tyres, and tyres are obviously when you go over bumps.
What size are those?
They're 15 by 7 inch, the rims, and then there's whatever tyres are stuck on there. But so people have told me to reduce the rim size or reduce the tyre size. Or
they want to be 50s, those, but they look more like 60s.
I think they're 60s.
I cannot see the time thing on it.
I ain't got my reading glasses on. There's the sizes here. 205 60s.
Yeah, too high. Change it to a 50.
I can't afford them. They're new. I got to wear them out first. But Rob Sport said...
Well, you might rip them out on the arches.
Yeah, Rob Sport said put in arches. I don't really want to do that. So
well, years ago, people used to, feel this now, bend this back.
Do they?
Yeah, fold it up. But the trouble is, water then comes down.
In the
fold.
Crush it up in there so you haven't got the sharp edge.
Yeah, the trouble is, water sits in there then, and then you've got no latch at all. So, I'll bring your window up though before you leave it, because I suspect it's not going to be a dry day by the looks of things, is it?
Well, they actually don't forecast any rain today. Possible bit of drizzle.
Possible bit of drizzle.
My missus might be coming over here regularly to open the boot.
Oh no, she'd do what she wants.
She's the main organiser of all this, so there's lots of stuff.
What's the stuff you're doing?
Lots of stuff.
What stuff? Well, that's a crazy number plate, I've got to say.
I lost it coming up here.
Yeah. Oh, you lost it?
Yeah, I pulled up and somebody said, "Where's your front number plate?" And I said, oh bugger, it's fell off. So I got a bit of drink in me and got some masking tape and done that.
Well, it's artistic.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. It's clearly a Technics one.
Yes, that's right. There's a company called TR Techniques. I think they're around the late 80s, early 90s. Similar to Grinnell and S&S, they used to build TR8s or TR7 V8, I should say, to order. And this is a friend of ours from the TR register. I've known of him for 30 years, and or known of the car for 30 years, and then he decided to sell it, and he'd done 5,000 miles in 30 years, and in the last 3 years before I had it, only 10 miles. Bodywork is great on it, because it was an American shell, which was then brought over and then converted.
Look under the bonnet.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
I notice it has a sort of a custom velour interior.
That's right. I think a lot of the budget went on the interior. So I think trying to replicate a TR8 kind of
it sort
feel
of
to it.
has that look and feel about it.
Yeah.
Was this TR Technics, do you think, or?
Yes, TR.
Well, it's very much like an S&S conversion, does that actually?
Yeah. Well, I think the chap who owned the company, his name was David Lyle. He used to rally one of the X-Works cars.
Right.
So obviously, you're presuming he knew his way around it. But it's taken 3 or 4 years because of its lack of use, recommission everything.
Yeah.
Brake, suspension, obviously all the rubbers, perishable, hoses, as you'd imagine. But touch wood, it seems to be going.
It's an SAT, so it's a very late one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
It's a very strange plate, is that? It's all.
No, it's all.
I can't even see what it says.
Yeah. It's. I think when they did the conversion, there was a lot of. It's whatever he had to do, especially the dashboard, converting it over. So it's got early bits on it, or early car items like the push button door locks, and so it's a real mixture, should you say? It's. Yeah, I'm very pleased. And the chap, when he had it spec'd, he wanted cavalry blue, and he picked the colour from the chart, pointed to the colour on the chart.
It's just a shade or two lighter, actually.
Yeah, thinking it was cavalry, and it's a princess colour. It's Nautilus blue. So, but I think I think it quite suits the car. Yeah, and the alley caps for a very period. So,
and you got to right in front. Lovely.
We're doing it.
It's yellow. We can see that. Come on, Andy.
Hang on, I've got to polish my tailpipe.
Polish your tailpipe.
Yeah.
Right. I guess it takes all things.
Yeah, go on, you can do the car, but I'm not being interviewed.
Eh? Well, talk about it. What behind me? What behind me? Come on, tell me about the car.
It's left-hand drive imported from USA.
Right.
Back in 2019. And then it was fully restored from a bare shell, converted to right-hand drive with a aftermarket power steering system put on it, which can't get the original ones anymore.
Okay. And what is the aftermarket one that's fitted to it?
That is from Classic Car Conversion, I think his name is.
Yeah.
So it's a bespoke kit made for the car itself.
Right.
Which I purchased, and that's been put on there. All the American emissions has been removed.
And you've got to remove the auto chokes as well.
Yeah, the auto chokes have gone. Yeah, we put a set of normal choke carbs on there because I couldn't, for love nor money, get them to run properly. He's had slight upgrades on the brakes. Suspension's been upgraded.
Curious why we've got it badged the way it is.
Just because
you didn't want the
I didn't like the TR8 on the front, to be fair. And I think I just found on the yellow car the strobes on the black just don't look very nice. I think the original stickers are horrible, so I just had them made up and slightly smaller, so they weren't quite so much in your face. Yeah, so it's a little bit of me in there as well, like, you know, it's not exactly as it was. I managed to squeeze it all in under a single bulge bonnet as well.
You do realise that Rex will be turning in his grave.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, you haven't done this.
But yeah, so and it runs lovely. It really does run really, really nice. I had the actual ratio put down to 3.45
Mm.
because it's only still running on the American spec engine. So it's not the most
have,
powerful in the world.
One spare WL9 cam. That'll
Yeah.
give you another 30 horses.
Yeah. I've got a set of
I have one with me,
Yeah.
even.
I've got a
Cost
set of
my
high
car.
compression pistons to go in it, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna do that. But I'm still not sure about the cam yet. I'm still thinking about that.
Oh, you want to do it? You'll never look back.
But yours is an upgraded engine, on it as well, so it's working well on that.
I don't know
Oh,
what's going on in
yeah.
that engine. It has double springs, it has solid lifters. The brake course they put out on the rolling road suggests it's a long way from standard.
Yeah.
But the man who built it's dead.
I mean, if I can get this.
However, the man that built that isn't dead.
Oh no.
Yeah, so, you know, there's hope. Right, on that bright and cheery note, I'm sure. So, tell me about the car and its history.
The car and its history. Now, the cars are built in November 1980. It's a method build car. So it was built to test the production process of the TRA prior to BL going into full production of the range. So there was two built. One was both the same colour. One was an automatic, which is this one, and the other one was a manual car. This car was sold off at the trade auction at Measham in 1981 after they scrapped the entire TR7 and TR8 range, and it was sold, as I said, at the trade auction. It went off to a trader in Hampstead who put it in a lock-up garage, and there it stayed not till 2021. It wasn't registered. It had had 73 miles on the clock. Unfortunately, sometime during the storage, the roof of the lock-up garage where it was stored collapsed, so it got an awful lot of water damage and quite a lot of corrosion. Over the past 3 years, 2.5, 3 years, it's had a full nut and bolt bare metal restoration, and what you see is the end result of that.
Okay, what about the trim and things? How did you manage to get that done? Is it all the original trim, or?
It's all the original trim. I was lucky enough to find a trimmer in Paul in Dorset who retrimmed the seats for me because they were covered in black mould.
Is that the same velour, or sorry, not the velour, the vinyl? Is that the same, original?
The vinyl had to be replaced, so that was supplied by Rimmers. Or actually, that was supplied as new seat covers.
Was it?
Yeah, they wouldn't tell us where they get the vinyl from, so we buy complete seat covers, unstitch the checkered.
Oh, is that what you did?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh dear, that's a bit extreme.
It was a bit expensive as well.
yeah. Well, I don't know. You haven't got another alternative, have you?
We didn't have another alternative. Yeah, the trimmer couldn't find a match for the vinyl anywhere. But in the event, the seats were all painted with the highly recommended vinyl paint.
Yeah.
And so I could have got away with a different colour anyway, so it didn't really matter. But the rest of it is as was.
And you just left the TR7 badge on there because originally, of course, it had the
TR7 badge on.
TR7 badge and identity to it, but that, of course, is incorrect, as proven by Heritage, who declare it is indeed the automatic method build car.
Yeah, interestingly, it had a choke cable coiled up and tied up on the bulkhead, and that was a TR7 choke cable. It's not long enough to be a TR8.
I am of the opinion that the first batch of 9 was actually built at Camley, and that squares with what Gary Owen told me. But the two methods build ones and the next batch of 9, these were method builds at Solihull, and therefore when it got to Solihull, these were the first ones they'd ever seen, and that would explain the mistake.
Right. Okay.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
And that actually sort of probably does rather largely answer it, I think. But you've done a lovely job of it.
Thank you.
Really nice. Probably a bit too shiny for a real British Leyland car, but other than that, lovely.
Yeah,
Lovely.
I had
Great.
quite time with the machine, obviously.
Right, okay, tell me about this car.
It's a 1980 TR8. It was originally sold new to the US, Arizona. I don't know too much about its early history, but there was an English guy who owned a hotel in California. He went to Las Vegas with a bunch of friends. He didn't enjoy gambling, ended up in at a car auction and bought this. And at the time it was not running, it didn't have any keys. So he got it back to California, got it running, spent quite a lot of money on it. Wiring has been the main issue from the bills, but it's pretty original. And then in about 2012 or 13, he came back to the UK, sold his business, and he was back here about 3 months in the winter and decided that it was far too cold and wet and windy. And he went back to California, so I bought the car. So I've had it since 2015, January 2015. I've just been to Lyon in France, Lyon. I drive it. I don't drive it during the winter, but every summer I drive it about 2,000 or 3,000 miles a year. And it's pretty enjoyable. It's a bit sort of rough and ready, but it's best to just drive them, I think.
Yeah, absolutely right. Right, thank you very much for that. Appreciate
You're welcome.
Pop the bonnet at some point as well. Right, okay, Finn, tell us about this beta.
One of the cars that came from BL through Measham, and it was subsequently sold to, well, it subsequently went through Checkered Flag in London.
So this is one of the 22 right hand drives?
It is.
Okay.
Went to Checkered Flag in London, was subsequently sold to Saatchi & Saatchi, and they, I believe, used it as a pull car. I don't know. They had it for about 8 years, and it then went back to Checkered Flag in Chiswick, which incidentally is where it was registered, WNW. And it was then bought by a North London dentist.
Okay.
He had the car then from late 80s through till 2003 when I bought it. He used it on his business as a dentist and had a Pi 2-way radio fitted. It had another aerial on the back when I got the car. When I bought it, it was in another shade of green, very tatty, leather seats that were also tatty, tan hood that was also tatty. So the only thing that's been done in my ownership, really, changed the wheels for something more practical. The hood I felt looked better in black, so that's now black, and it had a stainless steel exhaust fitted. That's about the sum total of it. Otherwise, it's 117,000 miles, never been off the road, and it just gets used, which is why it's no showpiece.
Thank you. So, who've we got?
Melvin Jones.
Hi, Melvin.
Hi.
Right, tell us about your car.
So, drive TR8. It's an American import. I've had it for about 2.5 years.
Okay.
Not the most box fresh of cars.
Okay, can we have a look on the bonnet?
Yeah, sure.
If the bonnet pull works. Right. To pull on that off, yeah. Okay, so you've got holly on it. Is it holly?
I think it's high, yeah.
Okay. What did it have originally? Do you know?
I don't know. It's an American. It's a Californian one, so I presume it had
EFI.
injection.
Yeah.
I presume it was.
The aircon still work?
It does. It smells a bit, but it works.
Oh well, you're lucky, indeed. Luckier than you know.
Why are they rare to be working?
Yes, unfortunately. But there again, this country you get away without one. Right, well, thank you very much for that. Much appreciated. Thanks. Okay, Keith, so tell us about this car.
Well, we understand that this car was one of 100 that was destined for the States but never actually left this country. It was kept back at for emission testing and various other things. That's why it was made in 1977 but is registered in 1980.
Right.
I've had it since 1991.
Okay. What sort of state was it when you got it, Keith? Like this, or?
It was in a good state because it was previously owned by Ian Tinsey.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. And since I had the engine bay done, refurbished, I think late 90s, and then in 2018 I had the bodywork done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else we know about it? I'm assuming this is an ACN car, is it?
ACN, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Battery in the boot, has it got the box and things?
Yeah.
Have a look.
Yeah. There we are.
Okay, and here we go. That was just on the early cars though, wasn't it? The ACN, that box.
Yeah.
Did it appear on any of the later ones? Did it turn up in TCNs or just ACNs?
I don't know.
Don't know. Right. Thank you very much, Keith. Tell us about this car.
This car is a factory experimental car, X919. One of the earlier cars that was made as a convertible. Not sure whether it was actually made up at Speak or Canley. There are bits of it that are dated as far back as 1977, and it was used for Triumph development work. They put a fuel injected engine in for the American market, but it's got bits of trim, later style door lock, later style boot lock, and the one-piece boot lining that was going to come in the 1982 model. So it's got...
Can we see the one-piece boot liner, or is it full of junk?
We can when I empty it.
Right, we'll skip that bit then.
I'll empty it. Oh dear.
Right, and
not a lot else I can say just at the moment.
anything special about the engine?
No.
Obviously it's ENFI.
It's a fuel injected. It's not in the standard fuel injected engine series numbers. Most of the development cars seem to have used 13E numbers, which were originally designated as Californian automatic carburetted cars. But I think the factory had a glut of those engines, so used them for putting the fuel injection development purposes.
Okay, I noticed it's got gold wheels. Do we know why that is?
Well, again, it looks as though it was something that the factory was toying with. As far as I can tell, they were using the car for sort of some design and development work. I just wanted to see what it looked like, because it's got a front spoiler that's slightly different to any other that I've seen on cars.
Okay, let's get down and have a look. Right down and have a look even.
Coventry registered JVC, put on the road in December '79, which is some months before they launched the TR7 convertibles in the UK.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that.
Do
we know the name of the owner of this one?
Yeah, right.
I've met him actually, I can't remember for the life of me. But this one is the Myra one, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Alright, Jim? Alright, yeah. Alright down here?
Yeah, not too bad. Expanded on the road.
Right, tell me about this girl.
Right, this is a 1981 TR8 Canadian spec. Never left the UK. It originally went to an Austin Rover dealership in Somerset near the Barthelmess Showground. He had it as part of a private collection for nearly 20 years and did 1,600 miles in it. He also had it converted from left-hand drive to right-hand drive and changed the colour from silver to red. Completely, there's no silver paint anywhere on it. I'm the second owner. I've had it since '99, nearly 25 years now, and it's just done 21,000 miles as of coming up here today.
That's as of its new life.
And
Just getting straight.
Registration plate was put on it back in 2002
Yeah.
after a 2-year wait at DVLA to get the plate put up for auction.
Okay.
Now it's just used for events such as this.
Can we have a look in the engine, Dan?
Yeah, yeah. There's a bit of a letdown on the
Well,
I need that repaint or doing something with that, but I don't want to tinker with it at all.
I'm going to tell a story about that in a minute, but not while I'm recording this. Okay. Well, that's an interesting variation on the thing. Did you change the air filter?
Yeah, because the old one was a bit fiddly. And I've still got the old one.
Yeah.
And there was a live mouse's nest in it from what
Yours
was in the car.
Yours isn't the only one that's happened to.
Yeah.
Because I had one with a load of fish food and a dead mouse in it.
Oh gosh.
So there you go. Right. Thank you very much. Tell us about it.
This is my TR8 and I've had this since 1994. Although I know about it, I've known its life story all the way through from brand new. I've known all the owners to it, the 3 or 4 owners to it.
This is right on driving.
It's a
do you know?
It's a California car that never went.
Right.
It started as left-hand drive, and as far as we can tell, it was converted in factory. Although I have no written proof of that, but in talking to those in the know, they've said it looks like all the bodgery that Leyland would have done. It also started with fuel injection, which it lost before it came out of the factory. The engine number is 14E009.
It's an early one.
It's a very early car. So it was used in factory in the 18 months before it was sold out. So it's an early car with a bit of a
checkered history.
Yeah.
Now that you've got it, definitely.
So yeah, I've owned it and abused it, and it's been up to Scotland, it's been down to Cornwall, it's been all over France. It's been
everywhere.
I don't mind driving it.
Okay, Steve, bit of a beastie there. Tell us about it.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yes.
It's genuine ACN pre-production development TR8, which was a straightforward coupe and left-hand drive, and then when I got it in 1990, it became what it is now, which is a right-hand drive replica, if you like, of Tony Pond's 1978 rally car when it first received the V8 and became the red.
And this is a car that was on SOS recently, isn't it?
It was, yeah, and yeah, it was.
Safety devices cage as well.
Yeah, safety devices cage. Really and truly, at this era, it should have the cages built in.
Yeah.
But hey ho, that was a bit of a bridge too far.
No, well done, lovely car. Thank you. Okay, so yours also has the steel boxes then, but you're fuel injected.
Yes, this is a modern take on the sort of historic version. This is a fuel injected non-historic car, so it's about as modified as I can take it to what I felt was worth doing. I've rallied 4 TR7 V8s and was going to give up and play golf and be an old man really, but an opportunity came up to purchase an unfinished project, and it was quite sad that a guy was building the shell to go historic rallying, road rallying with his dad, and sadly his dad had a heart attack. Survived, but didn't want to go rallying, etc. anymore. So put it all up for sale, and I took the shell off his hands and decided if I was going to build another one, it was going to be have every modification on it that I could think of to make it go better than the previous ones I've had. So this one's
so in effect you modified this as much as you're allowed to go and still race historic?
No, mine's not historic, so mine's
okay,
unlimited.
so you can't, right?
This one's unlimited, so I've moved the chassis around, I've played with the geometry, I've got fully adjustable shock absorbers. The front end is fully triangulated back to the cage, which you're not allowed to do on the historics. They just had a bar at the top, whereas mine then goes across and triangulates down to the bottom of the roll cage, so it stiffens the whole front end. Engines as far back as it would go, which is standard. This is a TVR cross-bolted block, again fuel injected.
TVR, why TVR?
They were just stronger, and it was a 4-litre block.
Okay.
So, which again you're not allowed for historic, so it just makes it that bit stronger.
Yeah.
I've got a sequential 6-speed gearbox, so I don't have to run the normal H pattern. So it's full modern spec. The chassis is longer, so it's a longer wheelbase, slightly wider wheelbase. Yeah, the spare wheel position is moved, so it's above the axle, so the weight distribution is...
What sort of fuel tank have you arranged?
I've got
this? Have you got something similar to what Dave's got?
No, mine's completely
like
different.
a bag
again.
thing.
So my filler's up here.
Right.
And the tank... My spare wheel sits in where the tank was to get the weight forward, rather than having 25 kilos of wheel and tyre hanging over the back end like a pendulum. And then I've built a purpose-built aluminium curved tank around the spare wheel to the rear bulkhead, so it fills above the chassis each side, so it's a complete bespoke.
So it's below the parcel shaft and inside?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare to get in and out, but...
Yeah, I imagine it would be.
But
I hope it doesn't spring a leak.
Yeah, but it keeps all the weight between the wheelbase.
Yeah.
It's 49% rear, 51% front as a balance.
You're nearly half and half, aren't you?
Exactly. So when you go hard into a long corner, the balance is totally neutral. It doesn't suddenly snap to oversteer, or it doesn't push on in understeer. It's a very well balanced car, and the originals were always known to be very twitchy because of the short wheelbase.
Well, one of the things Richard Erdwell told me, particularly on mine, because it's missing a rear anti-roll bar, was that the reason for removing the anti-roll bar was to balance it more up.
Yeah, yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Right.
So my axle is further back in the chassis than standard, again to improve the balance and the weight distribution. So it's about as far removed from an original one as you can go and still keep it looking the same.
It's got a rather large rear spoiler. Thank you for marshalling. Well, that's a nice touch.
Well, I started off marshalling many years ago, and yet without marshals we can't compete. So
well, without anybody doing something,
exactly.
Can we?
So just to have that on there, I've had it on all my cars, because it is a thankless task. Stood in the cold, dark, wet, you know, with an orange jacket on, watching a car go past. I've been there, done that, and appreciate them doing it for me. So
years ago, I used to stand in Dolby Forest and look down. Well, in 1980, when Tony Pond and people were going through.
Yeah.
And I didn't have an orange jacket, and I was cold.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it was fantastic days with the 6R4s in the forests and everything else. It's but no, this is as far modified as you can go with a TR7 really, and keep it looking like a TR7. It would be interesting to have like a head-to-head test session to see.
Yes, I was going to say, shall I ask Dave if you two can
well, I have mentioned it.
Have a sprint.
Yeah.
Or something.
Because I run 15-inch wheels as well, so I've got larger brakes, AP racing brakes, front and rear. Same as the works cars, the front turrets are moved in.
But the works cars originally were AP though, weren't they?
They were, but they're only a 13-inch wheel, so they're a smaller disc. Still a 4-pot caliper, but being 13-inch smaller in a smaller wheel, they get hotter. So
one of the things on NWK, of course, is the factory put 4 pots on it.
Yeah.
But while they are similar to the Princess, but the modern version of that now is what's on the MG RV8.
Yes, yeah.
So it's still relatively, well, it's the only way you can get anything under 13-inch wheels.
That's right, that's right. Which then gives you limitations. You start putting a 15-inch, 9-inch wide tyre on it, and you're on the maximum braking ability of. It doesn't take them long to get hot.
Well, Mr. Herdwell, in his wisdom, lowered my car so low, I can't go too wide because I'll be sitting on the arches.
Yes, yeah. Well, of course, these and David's historic cars, they're all the rear arches are cut out, so you can get as much suspension travel as possible.
Well, thank you very much for your time, sir.
That's all right. It's a pleasure.
Much appreciated.
No problem.
We'll make you famous, maybe.